Hey everybody, and welcome back. Right, well, not sure what we're going to get done this week because I've got other things I have to do, and I'm a little bit short of space because behind you the CRV is still in, and where that is where I would normally stand all the bikes, so they're all in the paint room, so I can't get anywhere close to getting even things prepped for paint, so we'll have to do other stuff. Just took the car down to get the estimate. It's Monday, and all the chap did was came out and took photographs of it. I mean, I was only there a few minutes, and in fact he was looking at it and it was basically done, and I opened the door and pointed out, because he mentioned that the outer panel hadn't he said that should just clip back in, and he pushed it, and I opened the door and said, oh well, you know, it's a bit bent in here. So then he looked at it, and you know, it's nothing particularly untoward. He said, oh, that's all right, we'll just pull that out. But I thought to myself, yeah, but if you'd have priced this job, and then when you got it in, you'd opened the door, because he's putting a new door on, and found that then you've got to do all this other work, you probably would have been a bit miffed. Anyway, so that's taking that space up. So as you can see by the reflection, I gave this a bit of a shine up, just to see what it looked like. Of course, now I can see a couple of little bits that you don't see when it's in the rough finish. But anyway, I only had one comment so far, although it's only Monday, to say they didn't like it. I think it looks nice, particularly polished up now and the piece coming out. Anyway, so that's done. So what we're going to do this week, I've made a little list, is a bunch of little jobs that need to be done, and we'll sort of start disassembling, and then as I say, we'll do the engine. So I've got a little mod I want to do to the rear light mounting, and also I've finally ordered an air filter for this. It's a unifilter pod type one, and it's got a 15-degree down angle, but I think I'm going to have an extension on the carb to get it in. I might not, but I think I will. So what I did buy before, just in case, was this is 1 3/4 inch, the mouth of the carb. So I got some 2-inch tube, 2-inch OD, and the air filter, the idea of the mounting is 2-inch, so that will go straight on that tube. We do a little bit of internal threading, we can screw that on there as an extension and then put the air filter on. So that'll be that. So as I say, I've got little bits, I've got on my list of stuff to do, things that are only part bronzed and stuff like that. There's not actually a lot of things that I can do. I'm virtually ready for paint, as I mentioned. So to stop myself waffling, oh, and of course the saddle isn't at the upholsterers because that was one of the errands I was doing on Friday when I wrecked the car. Alright, so let me show you what I want to do on the rear light mounting, and we'll go from there. Right, well, you remember I made this alloy piece because I didn't like the idea of that being hollow. Well, that's all well and good, but of course it hides the 2 bolts that hold this whole thing onto the mudguard. So if I want to take it off, I've got to take the light off and then take this off, and then I get the 2 bolts, which is a bit of a chew. Plus, I just looked to see if I could put some bolts in. These 2 screws here, all there is in the back part, and of course it's all plastic, is like a piece of round solid that comes out, which is drilled. And these screws here are screws. So, you know, it's the thing where you get like in all electrical bits and pieces where it just screws in and cuts this thread into the plastic. Well, that piece is also where the 2 screws from the back go in. So things like that, you know, they're fine unless you start taking them apart and putting them back together, and then the threads are going to disappear. So I thought, you don't want it so you have to keep taking the light off if you want to take this off. Again, not that you're going to be taking this off every 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all this off, and I'm going to bronze the bolt heads into the actual tail light mount so that they'll be on there permanently, and you can just put the whole thing on and put a couple of nuts on the back. So let's take all this off. Right, so there's those 2. So what I'm going to do is take this off, get the black off, and then we'll do without the washer. We'll put them in, get it leveled up, and then we'll just tack them. Now I'll take it off and put a bit more bronze on, and then we can build the whole unit up, and it'll just go on. They'll go straight through the mudguard, put a nut on, we're done. So I cleaned the paint off in here, put the bolts in, made sure the bike was vertical and level and everything, and then put that across a couple of bolts there. So that needs to be exactly spot on, but that's all now bolted up tight, so I can put a couple of spot welds in, and then we'll take it off and bronze it up properly. Alright, so now they are bronzed in. I'm thinking of making a little rubber pad for that to go on there, because I've got to put a grommet in here as well, of course. So that now can just go on there like that in one. Goes on, we pop 2 nuts on, and we're all done. We're all done. Okay, very good. So there we are, all finished. So that's one job done. I'll go and cross that off on my list. Right, well, I don't feel like doing any fiddly little jobs today, and they're nearly all fiddly little jobs. So I thought, let's do something interesting. So we're going to make the piece for the carb, right? I actually have a little mouth, but it's not going to be long enough. I haven't got the filter yet, but I just measured up, and I decided if I made it 2 inches long, we could always cut a piece off. So, check this, and it's 24 threads per inch. So the sizes are not exact here, but what I've done is I've measured the OD there and the ID of the threaded part here. So that's going to give me a guide to how deep the thread is. But I also went to my machinery's handbook, to the part that deals with threads, right? So you probably can't read this here, but anyway, it says depth of an internal thread is 0.54127 times the pitch, and the pitch is 1 divided by the TPI, threads per inch. So the threads per inch for this, which I got with my little thread pitch gauge, is 24. So 1 divided by 24 is 0.042, and 0.042 times 0.54127 equals 0.023. So if that's the depth of the thread, it's going to be the same depth on both sides, right? So when we do this interior diameter, internal, oh god, tell it's early in the morning, can't you? That should basically be different by that amount to there. So actually it's 34 thou on this, and it should be 46 exactly by the book, but of course, you know, these are mass produced. So what we're going to do is go with the book value and then just see how we go from there. So I didn't have a piece of tube, but what I had bought, and I know there was a reason for this, but I can't think what it was some 2-inch round. So we're going to have to bore the centre out. So we're going to lose and waste a lot of metal. But anyway, let's get on and do it. So we'll put this in the lathe, face each end off, and then we'll bore it out to the size we need, okay? Right, I've faced it off, drilled the pilot hole. Now I'm going to drill 15/16, and then we'll put a boring bar in. And just out of interest, because I was intrigued why I'd done it, I looked up the price of the alloy in my McMaster car catalogue. A 2-inch solid round, 6 inches long, $10.08. 2-inch OD tube with 1/8-inch walls, which really is, you know, getting close to the size I need to cut the threads, was $10.08. So because I use more solid round than I do tube, I must have decided I'll get that and just you know, it doesn't cost me anymore, and I can get to exactly the ID I want. Right, let's cut this hole. should I say, drill this hole. My God, I've actually got a sharp drill. And yes, I am padding the video out a bit because I don't think it's going to be very long this week. And I know some of you like watching this stuff. Must be the sharpest drill I've got. I can't sharpen drills to save my life. Alright, this should be the last little bit. There we go. Alright, let me put a boring bar in. Right, I've just been talking away to myself there because I hadn't pressed the record button, so let's start again. I'm just running the boring bar through to set our 0. I'll let you see it start to cut and then I'm just going to turn you off because you don't need to see a boring bar going backwards and forwards through there. So as I said, this is just our initial cut, then I'll measure it. I've set the cross slide to 0 and then I'll know how much to take off. So I'll bring you back when we're getting close. Right, so I've bored this to that diameter, because it's the outsides of the threads, less what the calculation says those thread depths should be. So this very leading edge here is basically the root, in other words the depth of this thread, and that just fits in. Right, so now we're going to do the threading. Right, we're ready to do our threading, so let's set up the gearbox, okay? I don't think I've ever shown this before, and there's lots of videos about it, but we set the gearbox with these 2 levers, so we're looking for 24 threads per inch. There it is. So this one wants to be in this column, and 24 is C, so that is in C, D, E, F. So C, and there, 24. The other thing I'm going to mention is the setup of the compound. Now, as you know, I'm a self-taught machinist, so I take advice from people and I watch videos and stuff. And I found that some people absolutely say you've got to have this set, 60-degree thread pitch, you've got to have this set at like 29 or 30 degrees to get the leading edge cut in. And then I have a couple of friends who are lifelong machinists I really respect, who always have it just crosswise. I also watched a fascinating video, I think it was Joe P. Who's down in Texas or somewhere. And he covered this, and he actually cut a threading tool with only the leading edge. And cut the thread, and I can't remember all of it now. But he basically showed that, hey, I don't do it at an angle and there's absolutely no need to do it at an angle. Well, normally I do it at an angle for the simple reason it puts the handle of the compound in an easy to get at spot. But here, to get the leading edge, I'd have to have it this way because we're inside, not that way. And I can't do it or it'll foul the chuck, and I can't turn it round this way to be going in because I just haven't got enough movement on the compound. So I've set it all up dead at right angles. We're going to do it that way, alright, before you start commenting. Okay, so this is going to be a bit awkward to film. I'll pull you in a bit. In fact, tell you what, I'm going to pull you in and then I'm going to stop the video because I've got to get myself set up. Right, well, I think I'm set up. I've touched this off, set everything to 0. According to the calculation, we've got to come in 23 thou. So I'm at a nice slow speed. So let's come in 5 thou, shall we, and make what's basically a scratch pass. Okay. I'm just waiting for my number to come round on the threading dial. Scratch, so that's nice. Okay, switch you off while I find my gauge. Right, well, let me check this. Right, seems to be 24. Jolly good. So let's see here. So get this one cross slide back to 0. Go another 5 there. I can never remember which ones you can start on and which ones you can't, so I always start on the same number. So you'll have to bear with me as this comes round slowly. It's 24, it's an even number. I think with this thread on the lead screw I can start on any mark, but we'll see. 4, that's where I started. That looks good. Back to 0 here. 5, that's 10. Showing you this, I don't know if you're bored or what, but I'll actually have a look at the thread in a minute. Looks nice. Where's the carburetor? Just starts, but I've only gone, what have I got? 5, 10, 15. So now we'll go 20 and then we'll try it because we're only supposed to go 23, remember? That's 0 on the cross slide. Back in another 5 there. Oh, I'm afraid we're on way off our number. So just talk amongst yourselves. See, I would just switch you off, but of course it's too far of a reach to switch that off, and then I'd probably miss the number. Anyway, here it comes. Right. See how that is. Don't you hate fine threads? Going in tight. Let's take the 3 off that we're supposed to take off. Oh, good one. I was going to say we're not that far off 4, but we are. Never mind. Alright, so that, and 1, 2, 3. So I'll let you into a little secret, people. This is the first piece of internal threading I've ever done. Previously, all the internal threads I've needed have been small enough, or the diameter's been small enough, that I've just used a tap. There we go. I promise you, if this isn't quite right, I'll just switch you off and do the last little bit and then bring you back. See, that needs to go further. Alright, I'm going to turn you off and then I'll keep going until I get it to fit. Right then, so here's why I don't like maths. What this has finally worked out to isn't what I calculated the amount to be. Come on. But what I measured it to be. The difference between the two measurements was like 12,000 different to there we go, screwed all the way on. Anyway, let's have a look here. There it goes, all nicely screwed on. Okay, so hang on, make sure it'll actually screw off. God, that's on. Ooh, that's on tight. Last fraction of thread. Of course, now I've taken this out, so I can't do anything with that. Well, I suppose I could if I was. It's just a little bit tight. Alright, so there we go. Very good. So as I say, that's a first for me, and it actually worked. So we'll put that on, and when we know how long we need it to be, we'll cut it to suit. I only threaded it halfway through. Alright, let's move on. Right, so there it is on, and I think actually 2 inches is probably going to be the right length. That's more or less where I measured it to. Now I look at it, I think that's going to be good. If you're wondering why I went off the idea, or why I'm not doing the idea of a mounting, it's because with this little alloy tube and a foam filter, that's not going to weigh as much as the normal big pancake filter that the concentrics have on them. So I think we're fine. I don't think we're putting too much weight on the carb at all. Right, so that's the fun job done. Let's get to the boring little jobs. And here's the first one, front mudguard. You see, as I've run the DA sander over it, that piece, and then here's the shade, and there's even a little bit of paint there and a little bit of paint there. So this is actually bumped in there. So we've actually got to knock this piece down a little bit and bring this piece out. So let me take it off and we'll get the dolly and the hammer out. Right then, got your earplugs in or your muffs on. So we're going to use this one because I can get that piece under there nicely. Right, now I'm trying to bring this little one up. It's coming up. We'll work our way around. That's going down. I've got to slightly reform this bit as well. So that's bumped out. Okay, let me keep bumping away on this because I can't really just fill time by watching me do boring things. Just show you this, I'm using the edge of this shape one to get in behind that because this actual rim here was buckled slightly. It was squished so it flattened out. So now I can get that line back. You can see this moving it around. But now I get that to go in because I've remade that to its correct shape. Alright, so let me press on and then we'll do something else. Right, I kept at it a bit more. I used that in there. Used the slapper. And as you can see, this one, it was actually up here. That's gone completely. This one is virtually gone. That's back to the shape it should be. The filler primer will clean that up. Okay, that's the front wing one done. Let me go and cross that off my list. Right, well, another day, another disaster. For those of our viewers in the Antipodes, I'm going to be a whinging pom before I show you something. Never believe this, I was out yesterday, say I had all sorts of stuff to do this week. Took Linda to the opticians. I'm sitting outside in the Jag because the salt's off the roads. There's a car parked next to me. When the fella comes out and gets in his car, he opens the door. Oh, sorry about the lorry. Opens the door, bang, smacks it straight into the Jag, chips a big lump of paint off the rear wheel arch. To be honest, I didn't even get out the car at first. I was just sitting there in shock. I thought, I just don't believe this. Anyway, I had a comment about was there enough space here, enough room here for the swinging arm. So I answered the comment, but I thought I'd show you. This rear suspension unit's got 2.5 inches of travel maximum. So 2.5 inches from the top of the swinging arm to there is that mark. So when the suspension goes up 2.5 inches, top of the swinging arm will come up to there. Alright, so there's that resting on that. So we've got 1/8 of an inch here. Okay. Can actually go right up to there. Alright, let's press on. Right, next thing on my list was to get these captive nuts on the backs of the two mounts for all the electrical components. I had a comment about using riv nuts, and I'll be honest, I've never used them, and it's one of those cases where this is easy, quick, and of course stainless steel nuts with a bit of bronze not going to rust. I don't know if riv nuts rust or whatever, but anyway, it's just another one of these things. Always done it this way. It's easy, it's quick, I'm sure it's just as cheap. So anyway, that's something else to cross off the list. As I say, all small jobs this week. So now I've done the bit of filler. You remember when I was getting the paint off, I didn't realise there was filler this side and the wheel dug into it. So that's been redone. Okay, the other thing we've really got to do is that rear sprocket and its carrier. So let's go and have a look at that. Right, so what we're going to do here, if you remember, is a couple of jobs. There's our sprocket on its carrier. It's almost impossible. I mean, oh, look at that. It's almost impossible to get a nut in back there. I've said almost, obviously you can, but it's a real chew on. And the other thing I found was, okay, when this is on, these heads are, I mean, they don't touch, but they're a little close. So what I'm going to do is we're going to countersink them. Okay. And I've just measured these, and they are exactly, I mean, within a couple of, not even, I think within 2 thou maybe on one of them, the size hole to cut the thread for a helicoil. So I'm going to helicoil these to 5/16 fine. Of course, I haven't got a helicoil kit for that size, so I'll have to pop out and get one tomorrow, which is Friday. So we're going to helicoil them, and we're going to countersink the bolts. And I need 3/4 5/16 fine countersinks, and I didn't have them, so they're ordered. They should come tomorrow, and that'll be that job finished. So can't do anything there until I go out and get the helicoil kit. So I think I'm going to knock off for today. There's nothing else I can think of doing. Alright, so I'll see you Saturday morning. Right, it's Saturday. I was out yesterday. I could not get any helicoil kits, not 5/16 fine. I went to a couple of places. They all had all sorts of sizes, but they're all coarse thread, and I want to do these in fine. All right, you know, I mean, generally in a softer material like alloy here, you'd use a coarse thread to get a deeper thread, but here I don't want to cut the thread too deep. Plus I always like to use the same thread, so all the other 5/16 bolts on the bike are going to be fine thread, so these are going to be fine. All right, but what I thought I'd do is just show you how I'm going to set it up. I've got this mounted on here with a bolt through there. I'm going to have to move the wheel once because with the tyre on I don't have enough where are we, y-axis here. So what I'm going to do is, this is the right size drill for that hole. And as I said, the holes are already the right size. So I'm going to line it up like that so the drill will go in easily. Then we'll pop that out, put a tap in, get it started, finish it off. Because I want to make sure that these are exactly vertical. So we're going to put the level on, make sure this thing is completely level. Then we'll know we're going to cut the tap with the tap to put the helicoil in exactly at right angles to this face. And the same will happen when we come to do the plate, the mounting plate, which I've got here. Is I want to make absolutely sure that when we do these holes, these here, that the chamfer the countersink is exactly square. I don't want the bolt to be cocked in it. Alright. By the way, if you were wondering why I said it was so hard to get these nuts in, you can see there's not a lot of room, but the thing is, you've got to put the sprocket on this first. So with the sprocket out here, it's really difficult to get a nut on the back. Alright, so since we can't do that, we're going to do another little job. So let me show you this, and it's a very little job. Now, as you know, I'm slowly dismantling the bike because we're getting ready to paint, and it suddenly struck me that I didn't remember if I had tested to see if this weld was sound. So I thought we'll do that. So what I'm going to do is put a couple of petal taps in. I saw an interesting thing the other day, fella US video, and of course here they call these petcocks. So he said he was having some trouble with being censored when he used the word cock in his video. So we're going to put them in, close that up, and then what I have done is I found an old filler cap. Don't let the shine confuse you. I've had it on the wire wheel. The chrome is basically shot really, or it would start to rust as soon as it got damp. So I drilled out the hole in the middle a little bit and put a Schrader valve on it. So we're going to put that on, because I don't know if any of you have ever tried this, and if you have, don't. You sometimes see people saying, oh, you can blow dents out of a tank by putting compressed air on. Well, you can see the way the tank's made. This tank is made out of a couple of flat sheets, probably more than two. You put too much air pressure in this and watch it, and this will open out. This top part will try and go flat. So you put it on, and before you know what's happened, this thing is sort of bow-legged and you can't really pull it back in. So you just want a few pound of pressure. So that's what this is going to do for us. It's going to give us the chance just to use the pump, and then we'll put some soapy water around it and see if we get any bubbles. Alright, so let me put the taps in that in. Right, so we're all set. I got the pump on, got the taps in, closed off. If you're wondering, by the way, where that Schrader valve came from, I just cut it out of an old inner tube. So let's put a bit of soapy water on there. Start pumping. They're off the brush, they're bubbles off the brush. Nope, let's just see if we need a bit more air. And also, I was just checking the last couple of bits of video, and you might see there's a big clip on the front of my dust coat. That's because I lost a button and I was doing something dirty yesterday or the day before, whenever it was. So I wanted it closed up. Let's just make sure we've got air in there. Nope, I don't think we're putting any pressure in. Where is it leaking from? Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, look. Let's open that. I think we're all right. No, nothing. Jolly good. I don't know why it's not building any pressure up, but I think we're alright. I'll keep trying with it anyway. Any road up, that's going to be it for this week. Not sure what we'll be doing next week, but until then, stay safe and enjoy yourselves. That was a quick week, wasn't it? I just had a sudden thought. The air supply in the paint room, I've got a pressure valve there. So I could set this to actually just a £15. And I did find a little leak there, which has been one of those little buggers to seal up because it kept moving. So let me just put a little bit of air on there. And as you can see, nothing. Alright, so we're all done. Really am done now. Now you can go. Alright, see you next week.